This is a short video to talk about the process for creating WebQuests, and I'm using Zunal to kind of talk about the overall fit. We're going over this in class, whether this is an undergraduate or graduate class, whichever class is covering this. So make sure you pay attention in class, and it's much more elaborated there. But at this point, we're starting with the assumption that we've talked about the conceptual understanding of what a WebQuest is, and we're really just talking about the nitty-gritty at this point. So I'm on Zunal.com. If you notice at the top, I click the create a WebQuest button. I'm going to do a new one, and I'm just going to call it WebQuest. Get rid of that later. Create a new one. It's been created. Here it is. The WebQuest has 5 basic parts that you need to know about. There's an introduction, task, process, evaluation, and then a conclusion. Those are the basic parts. There's also often a teacher page, which is what I usually refer to as a kind of a sticky note. If you take over somebody else's class one day and they leave you a lesson plan, there may be a sticky note on top of everything, kind of giving you some overview ideas. That's what a teacher's page does. Also on this little WebQuest page or this function in Zunal, you have the other most important thing is the publish feature, which is at the bottom. Some of these others, feel free to help yourself to. The settings can change the color, the text, the fonts, and all that kind of stuff. All right, so starting off with introduction. Welcome page, you can put some basic information there, but the introduction, this is the area, and it kind of gives you some tips in here. But the introduction is meant to kind of whet everybody's appetite, to get everybody kind of started thinking about whatever it is, the topic you're going to cover. In the case of the graduate work that I do, I always encourage my graduate students to do WebQuest on whatever their area is. If it's occupational safety, do occupational safety WebQuest. If it's on whatever else it is, you just do it on that. Don't pretend to be what you're not. But when we're talking about undergrads, you guys are primarily in elementary, special education, and middle education. Make sure you cover your content. So this introduction is not, this is a WebQuest on. It might be setting a stage or whatever it might be for a task that students are going to do. You can update the image in here. You click update content. It allows you to change what's in that little box there. You also have the ability to add links on all of these pages to YouTube's, TeacherTube, Voki in here, pictures, Flickr, etc., all that kind of stuff, and upload documents. The task is where you say, this is the project you're going to accomplish. You're going to do the following 5 things, whatever they are. Usually in a group, but doesn't always have to be, but that's what the task is point for. And again, put images up to make it look nicer. Make sure you think about how the text is being presented to make sure it makes sense. This task shouldn't be huge. It shouldn't include the process, step 1, step 2, step 3. It should just say, this is what the outcome is. The process is the step 1, step 2, step 3. I've had people put a process that says, go to the library and do your work, and that's it. That's unacceptable. A process is, step 1, you're going to form a group. Step 2, these are the different roles. These are specifically what each person is going to do. Step 3, you're going to go out and do these things. Step 4, you're going to gather this information. Step 5, you're going to produce this thing, whatever it is. But you need to be very specific, and you start thinking about your audience. If it's kindergarten, first grader, second grader, then you're talking about big pictures, small words, big fonts, those types of things. If it's higher education, it may leave a lot of open-ended things, but you still must provide guidance. Do not make it just a quick statement that says, go do it. Evaluation is often a form of a rubric, and this is where and you have a rubric in here that you can change. And you also have the ability to upload a rubric if you so desire. So a rubric functions primarily as a way to communicate what is expected of somebody who's doing this WebQuest as a student, and it's also a way for you to provide some objectivity in your evaluation. Rubrics should focus on not just the procedural side, in other words, what they did to get there, how did they communicate as a team, things like that, but it also should look at the substantive side. In other words, what did they produce, and did it meet the criteria that you set out in your mind of what is good quality? The conclusion is often where you say, this is what you just did, let's pull it all together, and here's how it fits into the whole. And so it might lead into the next lesson, another WebQuest, lessons in class, some sort of project, the concept if this is a teacher development activity associated with developing a tech plan for a school, which is a real thing, then it might say this is going to be presented to the board, that sort of thing. All right, that's all there is to it. That's a WebQuest in a nutshell. This is Zunal. Oh, and I should mention in my last 10 seconds that in order to get this so I can see it, you have to publish it. So click the publish link and make sure it is published.